You know, Curtis, over the years doing this show, we have covered arts of all kinds, from books to music to film to comics.
Don't forget audiobooks.
I haven't, but how about an audiobook musical?
Go on.
I will, because for this episode, we're talking to writer Jeff Flaster for a soon-to-be-released audiobook musical following Jimmy Valentine. This one features some absolute icons of the West End, including Carrie Ellis, Hallie Frazier, and so many more. And we're going to talk all about how the whole thing came together, combining the music with the story, and so much more.
Citywide Blackout starts right now.
Welcome to Citywide Blackout, the place where writers, musicians, and creators from cities all over the world come to hang out, dive into their works, peel back the curtain on their creative process, and provide knowledgeable, actionable insight that you can apply to your own creative masterpieces. With decades of journalism, media, and entertainment industry experience, your hosts Max Bowen and Curtis Hughes provide fun, informative, and sometimes outrageously bizarre interviews that will keep you enlightened and entertained, with a few F-bombs thrown in for emphasis. So put up your feet, grab a beverage, and let's go.
All right, Jeff. So to kick this whole thing off, I want to ask about how you sort of came across the story, A Retrieved Reformation by O. Henry, which I guess kind of serves as the inspiration for following Jimmy Valentine. And what about it really appealed to you?
I've been an O. Henry fan for a long time. And the O. Henry story was part of the inspiration. But the other part of the inspiration was a painting by Asher B. Durand called The Beaches, in which a shepherd is walking out of a forest with looming dark shadows into the light. O. Henry's story is about personal reinvention. It's something like Les Mis, except it's only 5 pages and has a happy ending. But at the time I was in the Metropolitan Museum of Art looking at the Beaches painting, I was just emerging from my own personal dark ages. And so that painting really appealed to me. And in fact, when I was looking for an inspiration for a song, a melody came to me from right away, from that just 2 lines. But those 2 lines became the basis for the sound world of the whole musical.
Wow.
Which I can play for you.
Oh, please. Yeah, go for it.
Right here.
The war is over, but I still feel the shadow.
Yeah, I absolutely love
There you
the
go.
music. That is really amazing
Thank you.
stuff. So, Jeff, I want to ask about just the process of adapting this, going from this story to this full-length, like 2-hour musical audiobook with a full cast, music, sound effects, the whole 9 yards. That must have been a lot.
Well, it only took me 8 years.
Oh, is that all? Only 8
Yeah.
years. No big deal. That's nothing.
Only 8
That's
years.
not a whole lot of time. We can get
Yeah,
that
that's
thing.
nothing.
No.
That's nothing.
Yeah. But the key was that I asked questions. So I guess one of the questions is, the thing is only 5 pages. So how did I make it into 2 hours? The key was I kept the essential elements of the O. Henry story, which I love and still love. But then I asked questions that took me beneath the surface, such as, why, if Jimmy wants to go straight, does he go back to stealing when he's released from prison? Why, instead of quitting, does the disillusioned detective Jen Price pursue Jimmy Valentine? And what would it sound like if Beethoven wrote a country song? Obviously, that would be the third question.
Yeah, hell of a question. I like that.
But fundamentally, the question is why? And it's informed by my own internal battles because I have PTSD. So Jimmy, in my version, also has PTSD. And that is the answer as to why he goes back to stealing. It's the only thing he's got that can take his mind away from, in his case, World War I.
Okay.
Which he happened to be in because they figured it would be a good way to escape the feds. They'd get a new name, join the French Foreign Legion, Unfortunately, they joined the French Foreign Legion in 1914, and then war broke out. So he came back with a little, he's mostly okay. And some of this sounds deadly serious when I'm talking about this, and some of it is, but it's also pretty funny, as you know, because you've been listening to it.
Yes,
So,
I love just the overall like feel of the story, but like the humor of it, especially like the back and forth. And this is not a spoiler for
yeah,
folks, between like Jimmy and his reflection. I love those scenes.
yeah.
Those are great.
Thank you. Yeah,
Um,
thank you.
you
Yeah.
mentioned about your own experiences with PTSD. How
Mhm.
does that come through in a story as you're going along?
Okay, Jimmy and I are similar in that regard. He's okay most of the time, but then every once in a while he gets triggered, and then something weird happens. Now, in the story, we have the rule of three. He gets triggered precisely 3 times, and the third time is when you find out finally what it was that he's been trying to forget,
Oh,
and he
okay.
can't avoid it anymore. If you're only part way through, you haven't heard the third trigger yet.
Mm-hmm.
So it comes, and of course, it's simpler than actual PTSD. There's just one trigger, just one event. It's not meant to be a psychological PhD thesis. It's just a dramatization of a microcosm of, of something like PTSD. I wouldn't even, a previous title of this show was Shell Shock,
Oh, wow.
but I was persuaded out of that in part so that I wouldn't be trying to make it clinical.
I can see that. I can see
Yeah.
that. I can see that.
The fundamental driver is the story,
Yeah, yeah. Following
not
Jimmy
the
Valentine.
diagnosis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Following Jimmy Valentine. Now, see, one potential title for this was Finding Jimmy Valentine.
Oh yeah. I
But
like that too.
Yeah, but I decided against it because, in my view, Finding Jimmy Valentine implies, I don't like the cliche finding yourself. It implies that there's just some one true self that's there and you find it. For me, it's making yourself, defining yourself. And you make yourself, the first line of the show is very deliberately, these shoes won't make themselves. Because
Yeah.
contrarily, these characters do make themselves.
Mm-hmm. I want to ask a bit about the world building because I love the world of this story and it's told so well, which we'll get into later. But like, what was involved in just like crafting, characters and settings and circumstances?
Well, Jimmy, as you know, is based somewhat on me and somewhat on O. Henry's character. Detective Jen Price was inspired in part by my wife because the O. Henry character of the detective Ben Price was very minimal. This, a 5-page story. My wife, who was a retired attorney, made some of her career in prosecuting other attorneys. So she had and has a genuine warrior mentality. And she had in our home, one of our previous house we used to live in Massachusetts, she had a headline posted on her wall that said, "I'm a fighter." And you probably won't because there is a scene in which Jen Price in the story sings, "I'm a fighter," just in a line in passing. This story is somewhat like Les Mis, and therefore Jen Price is somewhat like Javert, except that Jen Price is sympathetic. And when things get darkest for her, unlike Javert, when things get darkest for Jen Price, she finds another gear. The one thing I love about this story is that it looks like a hunter and hunted story, a cop and a robber. They're both seemingly locked in a zero-sum game, but you can root for both of them.
Jeff, do you think your version is that much different from the original, or how would you describe your take on it?
I would describe it as deeper than the original. It keeps the original plot points, but goes deeper into why do these characters do these things. It develops the characters much more than, and gives, not just Jimmy Valentine, but the other main characters much more. And of course, Emil, Jimmy's buddy from prison, does not exist in the original O. Henry. Ben Price became Jen Price. Annabelle's father became Annabelle's mother. Annabelle's mother I named after New York City cabaret legend Colette Black, who was very instrumental in getting me back into singing and writing again. Directed the first stage reading of this, and then died a month later from breast cancer. We didn't even know she was sick. So she's on my dedications page. My advice to you, stay off my dedications page.
What themes does the story explore?
The story explores 3 themes, really. The main one is you can reinvent yourself. You're not locked into a corner, even if it seems like you are. It's about man as a being of self-made soul. You don't have unlimited power. I am not, as a 62-year-old, 5'6" person, I am not suddenly going to become a professional basketball player. But we have power to remake ourselves to a large extent. I have spent many years in psychotherapy working on my emotional reactions, for example. And that was the kind of work that informed us. So that's one of the themes. Another nearly as important theme is that our greatest battles are within. And you can be a hero fighting the war inside you.
Let's dive a little more into Jimmy Valentine's character, because I want to talk about him and kind of his battle of trying to go straight after he gets out of prison, especially when everyone, his own friends, are taking bets about how long it'll take him to get back in jail.
Yeah. Yes. So as I say, he's got, as I like to say, he has more baggage that will fit in his suitcase of burglar's tools. And the baggage is from World War I. He's friendly. He's, people like him. Even the guys who are taking bets against him still like him. And he's okay most of the time. But he has this, he's basically an addict. He's addicted to, you could say he's an adrenaline addict, except it's just this one, you could say it, I suppose, addicted to his professional identity, except that thief is, in some respects, not really a profession. But so he's stylish, he's slick, he's witty, he's charming. And he just has this little problem that he likes to
he likes to take things that don't belong to him.
He's distracted by shiny objects, as he says to Annabelle when he meets her.
Yeah.
So, and he is so, okay, wait, I'm sorry. One other thing, because you're talking about his reflection. He is so torn about these 2 different ideas of himself that he kind of has this split. And the part of him that believes he can be better is talking to him as a reflection, his reflection.
Okay.
So you could call that a psychotic break, or you could say that the reflection is a magical being from, this is fiction. So you could make him as somewhere a cross between Clarence from It's a Wonderful Life and Mephistopheles from Faust.
Given the direction of the story, what happens, I won't give this away, folks, but I'm leaning more towards the magical being thing because, could be it's a complete psychotic break. It's certainly possible, but I think I kind of like leaning more towards the magical aspect here.
Yeah. Well, I leave it up to the listener.
Yeah.
I leave it up to the listener. Right. Although Novel Pastimes asked me to interview one of my characters, and so I interviewed Jimmy's reflection.
Oh.
And I interviewed Jimmy's reflection as an extra dimensional being who's who's interviewed by another fictitious character, which I invented only for the interview, whom I call Op 13.
That is a wonderful idea. I absolutely love that. Okay.
Yeah.
Uh,
And incidentally, Op 13 is a nod to Mel Brooks and Agent 13 from Maxwell Smart.
mm-hmm. Yeah, I get that. I get that.
Okay.
So, Jeff, do you have a favorite character in the story?
Do I have a favorite character in the
Right.
story?
We can't say all of them.
Yeah. Yes.
No, I would probably say Jen,
Yeah.
because after all, that's the one based on my wife. So, and we've been married for 33 plus years.
Whoa.
So,
I like that.
and she's the reason that I have this musical.
No kidding.
Because I tried to write one song that described the O. Henry story. It's only 5 pages after all.
Mm-hmm.
I sang it for Helen. She said, yeah, it's a good song. One thing I love about Helen is she gives me her honest opinion. If she doesn't like it, she'll tell me. Also, she can listen to an album and say, oh, that's the hit from this album. So useful.
Very, 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 very talented.
She's got some ears. That's good.
I like that.
So she said, yes, I like this song. And I said, great. And then a couple of days later, and she comes back to me, she said, Jeff, I think you have a whole musical. And I said to her, nah. She said, no, really? I was like, no, I don't want to go back there. She said, no, it's a musical. All right.
And here we are.
Here we are.
Jeff, the audiobook, when we look at it, going through the production phases of it, right? Too little production, it kind of fails to provide enough detail for the listener, and you get more of that, like that spoken word sort of thing. And then, you go the other way, too many elements, too many audio features into it, right? The listener gets a little lost, or maybe doesn't finish the book or anything like that. So how did you go about, and I know it took 8 years to craft. Throughout that 8 years, how did the production go for you in terms of finding the right balance to say, yes, this will keep our listeners engaged without turning them away?
Okay. Well, when I say 8 years, I mean, I started writing it in 2017.
Of course.
And its first incarnation was a stage reading in 2018, directed by Colette Black. Its next incarnation was a stage reading in 2019, directed by Lenny Watts. Then we had a Zoom reading in 2021 because everybody was doing Zoom readings in the pandemic. And then I took a little time off from it, did a cabaret show in 22, and then I got involved in a development program at Musical Writers, an organization in Texas, and we had a very successful stage reading in 24 in front of an enthusiastic full house. And then it basically graduated. Then basically my little musical graduated from college and had to find a job. And then I had to try to figure out what to do about that. And I was thinking about outreach to, say, first responders, to I live in central New Jersey. The Phillies baseball team has this project called Strike Out the Stigma, which is themed with mental health. And I thought, wouldn't it be great if I could reach out to these organizations and have some kind of recorded version of it that was complete? So then I thought, okay, well, an independent film. Then I said, no, independent film I'd have to start begging people for money. But then what about something like a radio show or an audiobook? And
right.
that I realized I could afford to do. So once I decided that it was going to be an audiobook, then I found Wireless Theatre in London. And the first thing we did was, they're a whole team and they have done this sort of thing before. They have produced. So the short answer is I let them guide me. I became part of a team. They gave me a dramaturg, script consultant who has done this sort of thing before, who helped me adapt it to audio to make sure that there were no moments that relied on the visual.
Right.
For example. So that was important. I worked with an arranger, Patrick Stockbridge. Shannon Perry was my dramaturg. And I worked with him. going back and forth. And that took some doing. And we have a sound designer, Ross Berman. And so I guess this wasn't my first album. So it basically just going back and forth and using my own judgment, because ultimately it has to be my decision. I say, that was too much. You added too much, take some of that away. Just go back to closer to my piano score. Or I need crickets here because he's outside and I want the contrast between that and Jimmy, who's inside. So there was, unlike much of what I've done, I can't say I really had guiding principles here. I just listened and had to make my own judgment as to whether it was too much, too little, and how to balance it out. And given that I got such amazing people, my first principle was make sure you're not overshadowing the talent. When I was much younger, I actually went to see an image consultant because I graduated from MIT, where we weren't, let's say, fashion conscious there. So, and he helped me figure out what my colors are and helped me find, I loved shirts that were extremely loud. He would say to me, that shirt is wearing you. I didn't want to get an arrangement that was wearing the singer. It has to be the singer's song, because I've got stars here. I could get stars here because they just have to come down for a weekend between touring dates, and they can be a part of something that lasts 1,000 years.
So how many revisions do you think you maybe went through before you finally nailed it and went, we got it, no more recording, we're done?
I thought you meant I thought you were going to ask me how many revisions did I make of the script, because for that I lost count. But as for the recordings, well, because I was recording with stars, so I couldn't just keep calling them back. They gave me 3 days, and it had to be done at the end of the 3 days. So there were, we went back and forth. It was kind of like going from being on the bench of my high school team to starting in the majors. I had jumped several levels here, or starting college at age 14, like Sheldon Cooper did. So I was in a land of contracts. You have a particular number of drafts, and that's all you get. And, if necessary, we can make another one, but it'll cost you extra and it'll put you behind the 8 ball in terms of the deadline you want. So there was ultimately a little bit of time pressure. But because I worked with people who were so good, we tended to finish our recording sessions early because they gave me what I wanted. Not only did they give me what I wanted, sometimes their mistakes were better than what I wrote. Like there was one line where Kerry sings, "You'll be proud," instead of "you'd be proud." And so the team over there said, "Oh, we have to retake that." And I said, "No, actually, if you think about it, this makes more sense." I won't tell you why, because it's a spoiler. But
we don't do spoilers on the show, so good.
No. Well, I'm not spoiling my own writing. There was a story and of course I couldn't share this story while we're recording because time is money, but Joe Barbera of Hanna-Barbera tells a story in his book, My Life in Tunes, where he's working with the guy who plays Fred Flintstone. And Fred, the actor, says, "I don't like what you have here. I think I should say yabba dabba doo instead." And so Joe writes, "In the most brilliant decision of my career, I said, okay." So
wow, I did not know that.
Yeah. So those are my favorite kind of writer's moments and I have done that before, where I say, yes, I like what you did better. I'm revising the score or the script accordingly.
All right, so we have talked about this a little bit. I want to dive into the cast because you have an absolutely stellar cast for this story.
Yes,
Jeff.
I do.
I've been blown away by their delivery, by their singing, the whole 9 yards. How'd you choose who to work with?
I chose who to work with by listening mostly through Apple Music and listening to. Also, I had AI help me, ChatGPT, and said, I'm looking for these kind of people. and it would say, actually, my chat GPT has a name. I call it Barrett, named after Majel Barrett, who was always the voice of the computer in Star Trek. But just the last name so it can be gender neutral. So anyway, so I asked Barrett and gave me lists of people, and we went through lots of people, and I would listen to, but these were invariably people with recordings. And I would listen to their recordings, and if I liked it, then I would give them to my wife and see what does she think. And it was especially important that my wife loves Carrie Ellis, who's playing the character based on her. And when I heard Jackie Dankworth sing that first line of "You or Me," her first song, it was like I could die now and I'd be happy. And I just knew. I mean, she has somewhat of a more minor role, but she has the role named after the actual person. And she just had, she's got that real. This story is part noir, and part kind of anything goes, which is not quite noir, but she's got that noir tone, and with her, it was just, I've got to have this voice in there. Mm-hmm. With Carrie, it was like, I can hear someone who's been through a tough time and come out the other side. And, it's no coincidence that almost everybody in the cast has ties to Les Mis.
So were there any here that were kind of like on your, I want to work with these people? Were they on your, musical bucket list?
All of these people are people I discovered when I knew I had to cast this.
Wow.
And that I could possibly get these people. So, yeah, I mean, both Hadley and Carrie were associated with, Carrie was the West End's original Elphaba, and Hadley was in Phantom as Raoul. Both of those stories are very important in tonally, because I've got a story where there isn't really a villain. There are two people who kind of seem like you could treat them either way. Phantom is like that, and so is Wicked. So in this case, Carrie has the more Raoul kind of role, and Hadley has the more Elphaba kind of role. But even so, they are familiar with that kind of story where it's centered around somebody of who it's hard to put in one category or the other.
With the talent that you had, did their take on the character surprise you in any way?
Well, that's a good question. Well, Carrie surprised me in that I just started thinking of her as Jen. I kind of forgot there was somebody else there, that she was an actress, and she wasn't really Jen Price. But to me, I just caught myself thinking of her as Jen. Hadley's interpretation of Jimmy, yes, did surprise me a little bit. But, it's like what I was saying before, he definitely got you could hear from his sound that he was in that category of judge me if you can, rather than I am a villain, or, because in the first stage reading, I did Jimmy Valentine. We had 4 people. I was the lead role. I have a pretty voice. I've sung in choruses. I'm not much of an actor. I can do different voices, but, so Hadley definitely does not sound like me, which is good. He sounds more like a gangster, which makes sense. But at the same time, he doesn't sound so much like a gangster that he becomes a Jimmy Cagney parody or equivalent. He sounds kind of like one of those optical illusions where if you look at it one way, he's a gangster, and if you look at it another way, he's a World War I vet, which is pretty much what you needed, what I needed.
Yeah, I gotta say, I really enjoyed Hadley's Jimmy, because I really thought he kind of just nailed that kind of gangster sound, like you said, though, without being a caricature, without sounding like, oh, this is so cliche.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh God, that would be cringeworthy.
Well,
oh my
I saw
God.
This World. I saw This World of Tomorrow recently, which was a lot of fun.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
And they did Jimmy Cagney imitations as part of the characters that they were doing.
Oh my God.
But that was a good show. Glad I got to see it. Okay.
You know, composing the music for this and how you went about it, I'm curious, did you have any music that kind of surprised you or ended up becoming your favorite?
A lot of them are kind of my favorite, depending on, to some extent, it's the one I'm listening to is my favorite. Some of them really kind of emerged after even the past year. And that was, I suppose, something of a surprise. And to that extent, I would say Copenhagen. Actually, two songs I'll think of that, if you allow me to use the word surprise in slow motion, because in terms of song number 10, Surrounded, was the evolution of that original song I played for Helen, which was I describe as the Great Balls of Fire and Rain version, kind of emotional whiplash. And then I made it into Just One Moment. It was kind of a pretty little folky thing. And then eventually it became more of a roadhouse, halfway between rock and blues. I think I can play the first 10 seconds of it.
None of the emeralds I prize will ever shine like her eyes.
That, incidentally, is my answer to what would it sound like if Beethoven wrote a country song, because the motivic idea in there is similar to the adagio from Beethoven's Pathetique. I'm sure you were listening to that and thinking, oh, it sounds just like Beethoven's Pathetique.
Oh, absolutely, of course.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I mean, it's obvious. God.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
But I can explain that if you want me to go into detail. But you were asked, so, you're giving me to go ahead?
Go right ahead,
Yeah,
please.
yeah.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. The central idea of the Beethoven Pathetique is, now, if you think about that closely, as I did, it's actually it's not just 9 notes, it's one 3-note idea in 3 different ways. It's a step down and a leap up. Na, 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 step down, leap up, and then da, 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 step up, leap down. And at that point, what you've got is, if you have an object-oriented programming background like I do, you say, well, it's a step in one direction and a leap in the other. In my case, I've got a leap in one direction and a step in the other. None of the emeralds I prize will ever shine like her eyes. So this, I also am influenced by Mencken, in that you can integrate a melodic idea with the story. In Little Mermaid, when you hear Ariel sing, ah, if you think about it, it sounds like a mermaid swimming up to the surface,
Right.
because it's ascending, and it's got 2 short strokes like you're swimming and then a glide. And so I said, well, I can do that. In my story, the central device is a mirror, because Jimmy is talking to his reflection. So when I have him go, the war is over, I've got, it's a G, F sharp, G, F sharp, but they're 2 different Gs. So the F sharp is the mirror. The G on either side is kind of the same thing and kind of not. Just like you're looking in a mirror and its right hand is your left hand. And then that second line, but I still feel the shadow, da da da, is going up, 3 5 6, la la la, 6 5 3, going down like mirror writing. Almost all of the music in this show somehow ties back to the idea of an asymmetric mirror. And if I'm now going into that surrounded song that I just played, you've got 3 notes, and the middle is closer to one side than the other. It's just a step away from one side, but it's a leap away from the other side.
It's beautiful.
It really
Thank
is. It really is. So Jeff, at the time of this recording, we're about 3-ish weeks away from the official debut of this. How's it feel
Yes.
to have it done? Like, all the work is kind of in the other review, and you get to look forward to, all the reviews are going to come in. All the people who are probably going to, I'm sure, love the story.
Well, a lot of people really do, and I've had some wonderful reviews already. It's a funny thing because I spent a lot of time editing it, a lot of time giving feedback, saying measure 56, the soprano is too loud, or the trumpet is too soft, or and to go from that to saying, I just recently, this past week, started playing it several days in a row, as if to reinforce the idea in my head, Jeff, this is done. We're not editing it anymore. There are no comments to be done anymore. The cast has gone on to their other projects. The recording studio has gone on to their other projects. Wireless theater has gone on to their other projects. This is it. And then finally I'm saying, oh, this is good. So how about that? So short answer, it feels good. But long answer, it took a while to get there and to get away from, if I had said, move that note up a quarter tone or something, and there were a couple of things where, I'm still saying, we should, and too late. This is it. And this is very good.
Mm-hmm.
So short answer is good. Long answer, it took a while to get there.
I like it. So to wrap things up, Jeff, the big question, what's next for you?
Well, I have now produced an audiobook musical. I hope to find other writers to team up with and make a genre called audiobook musical. For that,
yes.
For that, you need more than one. Because audiobook musicals, I think, have a lot of potential.
Mm-hmm.
You can, from the audience's point of view, it's $6, which is, or 6 something. That's less than a Broadway ticket. And you don't have to go anywhere. You can listen to it in your own home or while driving or while walking on your headphones. And from the actor's point of view, they don't have to memorize. There's no blocking. They come in, they make a few recording dates, fit it around their touring schedule, and they're done. And audiobooks connect to something primal, which is tell me a story, something that humans have been doing since the invention of fire, 500,000 years ago, roughly. So the audiobook is not going away, in my opinion.
Oh, definitely not. No.
Yeah. So that's what I'm hoping.
Well, I sincerely hope this happens for you, Jeff, because this story has been so cool to listen to. And I love the idea because I love musicals. I love them.
Yeah.
And the thought of just like chilling out at home, putting this thing on, just kind of relaxing and just enjoying the sounds. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
I'm there for it.
And also in your case, you can listen to it like a book and you can listen to part of it and then say, and I'll listen to the rest of it. I worked with a lawyer on this as well, of course, with a lot of contracts involved. And he said, yeah, I'm listening to it, but I had to stop. My wife said she's not to listen to the end without her. So,
Of course. Well, Jeff Flaster, of course, thank you so much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk about this story, folks. Following Jimmy Valentine, big release is on February 2nd. Check this thing out. Again, $6 something, really cheap. Let us know what you think, though. Leave some comments, leave reviews. Do you have a favorite character, a favorite song, a favorite scene? How did it make you feel? We want to hear all about these things. And you can find all the information about this at melodic.com, meloidic.com. Everything is there. And Jeff Flaster, thank you once again. Looking forward to the next conversation.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening to this episode. And please subscribe, rate, and review us on your favorite podcast platform. It ensures you never miss an episode and helps our ranking, allowing others to discover the podcast more easily.
If you really liked it, please share it with a friend and join our Citywide Blackout Facebook community, along with following us on Instagram at CitywideMax and at Citywide Interviews.
I'm your host, Max Bowen.
And I'm Curtis Hughes.
And we'll see you all next time.